Hey, what's up, guys? Only Ball's back here with another video, and today I'm going to be talking about why your favorite team will not win the NBA championship this year. We're going to start off with the West. We're just going to go 1 through 8. Those first few teams. Sorry, Suns and Kings fans, but I guess we'll save that for another video. Let's get into it. Now let's start with OKC. Best team in the West, 59 wins right now. Might get 70. For me, my concern with them would be the non-SGA minutes. Kind of who can be the legitimate scorer when he's not on the court. But last year in the Dallas series, it felt like when he wasn't on the court, nothing was getting done. I know, that was last year, and we're going on to next year and this year. And Jalen Williams is an all-star, But as a Thunder fan, I think when I'm watching Jalen Williams, my kind of gripe with him is that he's not always able to get to the basket, as much as I'd like him to be. I think he relies on, that mid-range game a little too much. And, sometimes when it doesn't fall, in the playoffs, possessions matter so much. And I don't know if, that's going to fall for him in this playoffs, right? And a guy that I like to see, in the beginning of the season with AJ Mitchell. He was, point guard for us. Most people don't know who AJ Mitchell is. I would, think people would know, but he was a very good guard. He was, able to set the table for us when, Shea was not on the floor. But he's been out for, past few months with an injury. And, if he were to come back, hypothetically say he came back today, I doubt that he'd be on the, be able to get playoff minutes. Just one, because he's so young, and two, our depth is insane. When you're looking at specifically guard position, he's gonna have to play against, or try to get minutes against Kaysen or Isaiah Joe, Caruso, and play when the playoffs come to, rotations get smaller and smaller. So I doubt that he'd get minutes. But yeah, back to the main point for me, maybe Chet could be that guy, that can get those centers out of there and just get to cooking. Maybe J-Dub can prove me wrong this playoffs, but it's going to be interesting to see how the non-SGA minutes go for the Thunder this year in the playoffs. Next team I have here are the Warriors. For me, I honestly don't trust their depth. After you look at the first 5 teams, look at the first 5 players for their team when they play. When you got the first 5, say they come out with Curry, Pods, Draymond, Jimmy and Moody, who I think is a solid 5, right? Who you have after that you can trust. Kuminga, I'd say I can trust Kuminga maybe in the playoff series. I don't know. Payton, he's been in the playoffs before. You can kind of trust him, but after that, are you really trusting Buddy Hield or Guy Santos? Kevin Looney, he's been there. You can kind of trust him, but it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. Most of those guys aren't really good, shooters as well, and you kind of need that when you have Steph and his gravity. The way they play, they just want shooting around Steph. So that'd be my concern for them is depth. Next team here in the West I want to talk about is the Memphis Grizzlies, and this is kind of a This video is going to be a little, nitpicky, I guess, when we're looking at it. This one of them ones where it's kind of nitpicky. For me, I'm going to go with their clutch time, and they're actually, relative to the league, they're 13th in clutch time, so they're actually above average and they're pretty good. But when you look at teams above them, they might have to play, like the Lakers, they might have to play in the first round, the Rockets or the Nuggets. Thunder, they might have to play in the first round, seeing how seeding goes. Like, those teams are just all better than them in the clutch. And it's the playoffs are all clutch games. Basically, you're not really getting much blowouts, and you're gonna have to play in them. And they've been pretty good, pretty good. But when you get to that playoffs, things have to be really tightened up and neatened up. Next team here is the Rockets, and they've had a great season. I can't knock what the Rockets have done, but in the playoffs, I think it really matters when you have you need a real one, right? As good as Elvin Sengun has been the season, all-star season he's had, and Jalen Green's been good. If you look at the last 20 years of NBA basketball, maybe one champion, they didn't really have a definite top 10 player. You could say that's the 2013-14 Spurs, but every other team had a one, in all those senses. So I think, it gets tough because when you get, to that time in the playoffs, you really want to look at your guys and be like, who can I put the ball in their hands to make the best decisions? And they just don't have that guy right now. And they're a very good team, but it's going to be tough in the playoffs when you don't have that number one guy you can call on and just, tell him to take you to the promised land. Next thing I want to talk about is Denver Nuggets, and this is one of my, I guess, not nitpicky, but it was kind of tough because I first wanted to talk about the depth, but I looked at the depth and I was like, I kind of like their depth. They have good, backup players and wings that they can throw at. Then I want to talk about non-Jokic minutes, but I think this playoffs, I kind of trust Murray, and he's been playing amazingly, recently. So I think, when you're playing good to get into the playoffs, that's always good for a player. You always want to have rhythm for players. But I looked at the defensive rating. They're bad. They're bad defensively. They're ranked 21st in defense. They're also 16 and 18 against teams at over 500. And I don't know if you know. I don't know if the Nuggets know, but they're playing all good teams in the playoffs. So, that's going to be tough. Going back to the defense, they have a worse defense than the Raptors, the Nets, and the Hawks. So, they say the best defense is better offense, but man, they're going to need a lot of offense to beat these teams that they're going to play. Next team we have here is the Minnesota Timberwolves, they've been playing well since 2025 started, but they, as bad as I said that the Grizzlies weren't good in the clutch, these guys are horrible in the clutch. These guys are 18 and 25 in clutch games. They're around the 76ers, Pelicans, Wizards, Nets, teams around them. They're just not getting the clutch, and it's surprising. I was like, man, how are they not getting the clutch? And I look because they have Anthony Edwards, who when you think when it gets to that time, he turned it up. But he's been bad too. He shoots 38% in clutch time, and it's hard to win in the playoffs when almost every game is a clutch game. And when you look at the surrounding pieces on that team, I don't really trust anybody in clutch time as good as Julius Randle is, as good as Naz Reid is. I'm not really trusting those guys in clutch time, especially in the playoffs, to go get me a bucket. Next team here is the Clippers, and harping on clutch time, they're also pretty bad in clutch time. They're 19th in the league, so a little bit below average, and that's kind of surprising because we know who James Harden and Kawhi are. That's crazy. Their offense is also not that good. They're also a little below average, although they have been a little bit better after the All-Star break. I think they have the 10th best offensive ratings in the All-Star break, so shout out the moves they made, Ben Simmons, Bogdan. And then I think for me, lastly, it's not nitpicky. I think this is more of a fan perspective, but I don't know what I'm getting from Kawhi and Harden. We all love Kawhi. Most of us love Harden. I love Harden. But for Kawhi, last year against the Mavs, he wasn't healthy. He played 2 games, and those 2 games they lost. And then they end up losing the series altogether. But then in the 2023, when they played the Suns, those first 2 games, we're like, oh man, here come that guy Kawhi. He was looking amazing those first 2 games. I think he dropped 30 back to back, and I'm thinking, man, him and Russ gonna, carry the Clippers with PG being out. But then we see that report after game 2 that discomfort in his knee and he's not coming back. So it's kind of hard to trust Kawhi at this point. I know that he wants to be out there playing because he's one of the greatest players we've ever seen. But it's kind of hard to really put that trust in them to say, oh man, he's gonna be there. I don't know, right? And then for Harden, last year we're looking at recent source material here. He had a great start to the playoffs. He dropped 28, 22, 21, 33. And then those last, 2 games, game 5 against the Mavericks, he drops 7, 4, and 7 on 16% shooting, 14% from the 3. And then this, game 6, the elimination game, 16, 7, 13, which is not bad, but 31%, field goal percentage, 0% from 3, it's kind of tough. And then it would be glaring not to look at his career elimination numbers, where he's averaging, 22.5 points on 41% shooting, 31.5 3-point percentage, the scorer that he is. We all know him to be. Those numbers are alarming. So, you know, when you go into the playoffs, you know, with that in mind, it's kind of hard to pick them to go and win. You know, that's just in the back of my mind. Last team in the West for me is the Lakers, and it was kind of hard for me to, you know, get something for this team. I think they're well coached. I think Redick has done a great job this season with what he's been given. Brown, Luka, you know, two of the best playoff performers, you know, the league has ever seen, and they're able to take over a series individually. So you put them together, you know, it can be, you know, whatever, right? And Reeves looked good as well past few weeks. With LeBron out, he looked great as a secondary creator to Luka, and even by himself, when he's on the floor by himself, he's looked so good. They have good depth in my eyes, and so, you know, this being a very nitpicked, you know, type of video or type of segment, I think for me, I think that they foul a lot, and that's not specifically scary for the team. I mean, that could be scary for the team, but I think that's scary for a guy on the team who's Jackson Hayes, right? And if he gets into foul trouble in the playoffs, he get bad since they don't really have much center help behind him. We seen Alexander a few weeks ago, and that was terrible showing, to be quite honest with you. And, you know, since they don't have that much center help behind them, you know, they're gonna probably go small, which helps a little offensively. It's more fluid, but the philosophy defensively changes. You know, you're gonna have to go smaller, and you're playing a lot of teams in the West that love putting, you know, pressure on the rim. Like Thunder, they like driving. Nuggets, they have Jokic. Grizzlies, Jaren and Ja coming down. Timberwolves, Anthony Edwards, Julius Randle. So it's tough. It's gonna be tough, but, you know, we'll see what happens. That's the end of the video, and the East version of the video will be coming soon. Very, very soon. Also, let me know what you guys want to see. So I'll catch you boys in the next one. Peace.